Joining me now is Stranger Things prosthetics designer Barrie Gower. And Barrie, first off, congratulations, because somehow you created the most terrifying monster of all Stranger Things time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you really did. When you were creating Vecna, what was the goal? How did you first approach it? Because we have some behind the scenes photos and it's creepy.
Yeah, I mean, so my wife and I run our company together doing special effects makeup, but we got approached by the Duffer Brothers, it's about 2019, and they were big fans of our work from Game of Thrones. We did the Night King in Game of Thrones, and I think at the time that they'd written season 4 and they were developing it, and I think they knew at that point that they wanted this new iconic villain. I think this year in particular, there's a lot of nods to A Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, they're huge Freddy Krueger fans. And working with the guys on set, we had the opportunity to work with Robert Englund this year as well, and we were all totally geeking out on set. We're huge Nightmare on Elm Street fans, so I think with so many nods and recognisable kind of hints towards Nightmare on Elm Street, I think for myself as a kind of 80s, you know, wannabe monster maker, it's been a dream come true.
Well, there was a little bit more than a nod, because you actually got Freddy Krueger himself, which is so exciting. And what was it like scarring the eyes out of a legend?
We joined season 4 and we'd already started creating Vecna, and then they approached us and said, oh, we have this other character, Victor Creel, and his story arc is he's gouged his eyes out and he needs this horrific sort of scarring over his face. So we said, yeah, that's great. And then we found out it was Robert, and it blew our minds. But we had about two to 3 days with Robert on set, and it was like a dream, because we had him in the makeup chair for about 2 hours at a time, and he just recounted all these stories from the 80s and his career, all these anecdotes, and it was insane. We were like kids in a candy store. It was fantastic.
If you can get into the weeds with me for a little bit, what was it like creating the Vecna prosthetics from start to finish?
I mean, it was a really quite intense process. So, as I say, you know, after starting with a life cast of Jamie, the sculpting process, that's quite a long, extensive process as well. And then we decided quite early on that, you know, he was going to be interacting an awful lot with the cast. There's going to be a lot of close-ups, a lot of exertion on set. So rather than just creating, you know, a rubber monster suit, something he'd slip on, we decided that we wanted to make it all as prosthetic appliances. It would all be completely adhered to his skin, glued with medical adhesive. So everything was very slim-fitting and form-fitting. And we had to separate all this sculpture up into, it was about 24, 25 appliances in total. And the first application, I think, from start to finish was about 8.5 hours, gluing it all over his body, which is
8.5 hours?
8.5 hours. That was a team of 4 of us as well. So, and then we shot with Jamie maybe about 20 days in total. And we always say the more you do a makeup application, the more you can chisel the time down. So I think we were trying to set ourselves records every day to get the time down further and further. And I think our record was, I think it was like 6 hours, 21 minutes or something like that in the end. So, but it was like a marathon, it really was. We didn't cover things like his armpits and various areas, and he, you know, Vecna needs to go to the loo every day as well. So, you know, we had to make sure there was a system where we could unbutton him and he could go to the loo and we could button him back up. So it was figuring all these factors out so it would be streamlined and work well every day.
Before you leave us, I have to know, what was your favorite scene of Vecna?
It's probably in episode 4, which is all heavily about Maxine, Sadie Sink. And there is a great scene where it's shot at the trailer park, and it's an exterior, it's outside, and Maxine is hugging her mum, and she's kind of gone into this sort of upside down nightmare world, and the camera just pans around the back of Maxine's mum onto Sadie, and as it comes round it reveals it's transformed into Vecna. So I think that was probably one of the funnest scenes for us, I think, on season 4.
Let's take a look.
Mom, let go of me. Mom, let go!
Maxine, you think some leathers are going to make things right? You've broken everything. Your time is almost at an end.